Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to join today's session. I would like to make an apology for Professor Edward Ng, who's supposed the speaker for the presenter for this paper. His Australian visa has been denied, so he cannot make it. Sorry. But yeah, as a co-author, so I have been assigned to present his paper. So this paper will try to show you our experience, how we implement urban climate knowledge, and also how we work together with designer and architect. Like the previous presentation, this kind of small design project can make also a big influence in the policy and also implementation. For this topic, we talk about the politics and technical qualities of upgrading an existing neighborhood to improve its urban climate and livability. So here, I guess most researchers from the urban climate field and Luke Howard definitely is famous one in this field. His study on urban climatology has told us quite long time ago, and we know this kind of knowledge transfer what we know to those, especially like the planners, architects who are making and changing our built environment. So how to work with them when we start this kind of implementation studies and also applications in Hong Kong, actually we have been inspired by this paper, which published almost 20 years ago by the Sweden researcher Professor Eliasson. He has done a survey and tried to understand why there is very limited application of urban climate in the urban planning. In her study, he tried to identify the problems and also try to summarize the explanatory variables. And also, in the end, he concluded the four key conclusions, including the develop tools course suitable for urban planners, improve the awareness of urban climate, improve the communication and argumentation, and also improve the institutional capacity. But based on our peer experience for this kind of collaborations and implementations, for us, we think the most important part is improve the communication between the climatologists and also the architect and designers. You have to convince them in their language. So that is why Professor Edward he published one paper in the International Journal of Climatology, try to summarize his experience and also how to do this kind of practical understanding of the need for meteorological and climate information in the design of high density cities. So one his key message is try to keep everything simple because the simplicity is a key and you don't want to confuse your partner, i.e. the designers and architects or even the general public. So when you talk to them and communicate with them, the simple message is the key. So that is why, for example, when we talk about to the wind environment, instead of using the wind rolls or simulation result, we use a big arrow. So you can see the case from the Sweden, they also use a big arrow to show the prevailing wind directions. The similar method we adopt in Hong Kong, and this wind information map we generate for planning department of Hong Kong government. So right now in Hong Kong, the planners and designers, even the government officials, they refer to this kind of big arrows and also wind zonings because this is their language. We need to put their evaluation result in a graphic and virtualize this kind of evaluations. For the real case in Hong Kong, we are not only the well-developed city, it's also an aged city. Aged city means one-third areas, they are this kind of aged buildings and also several districts, they are facing the urban renewal exercise. So how enable planners and architects to revitalize their project utilizing the most up-to-date knowledge of urban climatology. So this is the kind of challenge and how we implement this kind of information in the planning and the design. At the beginning, we know the scientists and climatologists, they have done a lot. However, the moment you show the planners and architects this, the battle is lost because you need to keep the everything in the simple language or even more in their language. Because when they talk about the design and also talk about this kind of planning project, they use a graphics And so that is why we have often, I mean, the climologists and scientists may have a question, what can be done? So back to the previous paper I mentioned, so improve the communication and argumentation and try to understand their language. Because for the architect designers, this is a journal paper they publish in this kind of architectural design journals. The graphics, the plans are their tools. So that is why we need to show their case studies and what is the precedent cases, good lessons learned from other cities. For example, like the previous speakers mentioned, this kind of real cases. So that is effective way to convince them. And in Hong Kong, we have a collaboration with Hong Kong Green Building Council, which is like the organization in the US. They provide this kind of green building assessment, LEED AP, the LEED certifications, etc. In Hong Kong, that is Hong Kong Green Building Council. So we work with them to generate this kind of guidebook, which can be used and adopted by the planners and designers. So at the beginning, we would like to provide the knowledge, very general, user-friendly knowledge, try to inspire them what is urban climate, what is microclimate, or even the changing climate to the practitioner. And so that is why if you read the book, everything is forward-looking, user-friendly, and easily applicable. And for the whole guidebook, including 5 parts, introduction, i.e., we tell them the general education about climate knowledge, climate change information. And also the second part is the guidelines for urban microclimate design. This is based on the Hong Kong local good practice. We summarize the 31 design actions, what they can do in their real daily job. And third one is subtropical urban microclimate design. So we also show what is a good design from other cities, for example, like the Brisbane, Singapore, Macau, because like what I mentioned earlier, the good examples and case studies are very important for them to learn. And also the fourth chapter talk about good practice. So for those winner project by Hong Kong Green Building Council, what are the common good practice and what can be done in Hong Kong? So we make a summary of that. And the fifth chapter talk about way forward and what can be done in the future. At the beginning, we show this kind of scientific background, the key ideas, and why climate change matters to the designer, to the architects. And also we educate them what is outdoor thermal comfort. And also we have to link this to the Hong Kong context. So if you refer to this, you can see the scientific concept summarized in the simple language. And also this kind of concept even explained with the lively illustrations graphics. And for the strategies, we focus on the 4 aspects: wind, temperature, thermal radiations, precipitations. And each actions, we use this kind of graphics to tell them how that influence their design and what is a good design. And this is all illustrated in the easy to understand graphic presentation of the strategies. And more important, this one, because we work with industry people, we need to understand what the implementation process. When we talk about a design project or construction project, usually they have 4 stages, including the conceptual design, schematic design, detailed design, and also the tender and construction. We also realize if we want to influence them, we want to implement this kind of good design or good urban climate understanding, we have to do this even before their design start, i.e. we need to convince them as early as possible. Otherwise, if you miss the right time to implement this, then you can not implement at all. So that is why when we summarize our 31 mitigation and also the action design strategies, we map out together with the design process, like this figure showed. And also, like what I mentioned earlier, Hong Kong Green Building Council is take the job for the green building assessment. So we also need to link together with existing BIM Plus, i.e. the green building assessment system, to see what is opportunity to implement this kind of implementation into the local practice, and also to understand what has been done by this system. And then we also learn from Singapore, Japan. Brisbane, Australia, Macau, so we can show our local practitioners what is a good design practice has been done worldwide. And for the chapter 4, actually, this is also very important because very often when we talk to our client, architects, designers, etc., they often ask the questions. This is my site. We have this kind of density situation. We have this kind of site strength situation. How can I implement this into our building design, into our site design? So that is why when we do this kind of study, we summarize the awarded project, we classify them into the site context and also the density context. So you can see the project here. We map out some may be located in the high density context, compact site. Some may be located in the large site but low density site. So when we review their cases, we also ask the 6 following questions, like where is the project site? What are the key microclimate features they are considering, and why it is important for the microclimate there? How were the microclimate conditions studied and improved? When were the microclimate conditions and potential strategy taken into account in the process? What are the expected achievements? So, for example, this is a case from Hong Kong Public Housing Authority. In Hong Kong, over 40 population live in the public housing estate. This is one new development project from Public Housing Authority. So in this project, they show that they are welcoming incoming prevailing wind directions, and also at the lower level, they also create the ground level, this kind of greenery and also more open space to the pedestrian people. And so we each cases will try to summarize their good lessons and also understand what is the strengths from the site level and how they make the successful story. And for the 5th chapter, we talk about a way forward, and we summarize like the science, technology, and development. For example, what is the past effort acknowledged, and what kind of continuous support for the research needed, and also, like the previous speaker mentioned, adequate funding is definitely needed and required. And then we also summarize the way forward for policy, practice, and design, and concentrate effort from the government important. I think not only several cities in Australia, even in mainland China. Recently, I just got the public document mentioned that China tried to implement more effort for this kind of climate change adaptation pilot studies. In the previous round, it's only 32 cities, but now over 100 cities will do the similar job, i.e. the climate change adaptation is definitely necessary and timely needed. So apart from that, we also know that public awareness and education is extremely important. When we talk about adaptation resilience, not only we look for the resources support from the government, everyone matters. Individual, we have to look after ourselves very well. And if you're interested in this microclimate book, you can scan the QR code. It's available online and also everything published in English. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Question.
Yeah, one of the main when working with the public sector, one of the main challenges we face is the difference between the time for science and the time for politics. So many times the politicians want, right away answers, and we need time to perform our studies. So I would like to know, how do you manage this time and the urgency for getting results in order to get those great influence you have in Hong Kong?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very good question. When we work with government officials or policymakers, they have their political agenda, right? So how our research, this kind of fundings can implement into their political agenda, or maybe we can meet their political expectation or agenda. That is very important. So that is why, for example, when we are not only work with them for this kind of governmental consultancy project, but also we have the research ground to support our idea. And sometimes we also need to wait for the right timing. And we have a tricky part. In Hong Kong, we also use the media. For example, recently this summer is the hottest one. So we work together with social media and also even the local major newspapers to do this kind of press release conference and to show our latest findings and also call for general public attention. So that is a way. And also, very often, Hong Kong, Singapore, Macau, even Shenzhen, Guangzhou were the competitors. And so that is why we also use the competitors to persuade our government to do a good job. Sometimes we say, okay, see Singapore, they have done this, and why Hong Kong not do that, right? So there are multiple ways, but all in all, I think we have to stay in touch with them and try to wash their mind and persuade them to do the good job. Yeah, thank you.
Can I wait actually, just want to make sure we're all on time here. And I'm going to wait until after this. We've space at the very end so we can have a conversation with everybody. What?
Can you tell briefly one rhetorical parameter, how it is used in this architecture? Any parameter of your choice, maybe rate, temperature,
I think it really depends on which project or even the political agenda. For example, one of our successful implementation projects talk about wind corridor. So wind definitely is